my grandfather had a huge influence on me as well. My father wasn't around a lot when I was a kid, so he was sort of like a father figure, and we'd hang out and watch, different. I mean, just in general, like whether it was a magic special, he was always into those. But mainly, he just was really funny and charismatic in general. So he was one of those guys that just captured a room,
Mhm.
and it would do really silly things, but they were always fun and entertaining. So whether he was like blowing up his muscle and then deflating it, or
Yeah.
like sharpening his knife on his plate, or just like really silly, ridiculous
Yeah.
stuff. But we just were like, man, Grandpa's the best.
That caught your
And
attention.
yeah, and he also used coins from our years too. And the
Is
funny,
that where money comes from?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
The funny thing though for us was that he always had a change jar. So every time we came, there was like a change jar full of quarters.
Mhm.
And he always had like, there's always one or two left in our ears, So like, oh, blah, blah, and he'd drop that in the rest of the jar, and then
Uh-huh.
he'd give us the change to go buy candy bars.
Yeah.
And like in our minds, I think we would remember it, as being more amazing than it was.
Yeah.
So we'd be like, he pulled all these coins from our ears, like, and then we bought candy with
Right,
it,
right,
So
right.
I don't know if that didn't turn one of us into a magician. I don't know what would have. That's pretty much exactly what you need to do. So if you're
Yeah.
a grandfather out there watching this, make sure you learn how to produce a coin from a kid's ear, because you very well might change their lives. No
and
kidding.
here's two cases right here. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Either
so-
that or a good card trick. It's either usually one of those
And it doesn't
stories.
have to
Like
be-
my uncle showed me this card trick, and
It
it
doesn't have
changed
to be
my
a good
life,
one either.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be good.
No, just enough to fool them, so that they can walk around and do it over and over again and annoy the entire family with how baffling the trick is.
Is this your card?
Yeah,
Oh no, wait,
exactly.
is this your card? I
Right,
could have sworn
right,
this was your
Right,
card.
11 cards down for no apparent reason.
This is your card.
Yeah, exactly.
So that got you interested into
Yeah.
interested in performing
I was
magic,
just
or you were
inter- I was
just
just
you didn't know what it
interested. I was
was.
just
You were
interested.
curious.
Yeah,
about it.
I was just curious at that point. I wasn't
Yeah.
in it like a magician or anything like that. I was just
Yeah.
curious. So I might be had like a crappy magic set that I didn't really pay
Yeah.
a lot of attention to.
Yeah.
And then I'd got into other things, music and skateboarding, and just other things as a kid. And
Yeah.
then when I was about 12 or 13, I ran into a professional magician on the streets performing, named Paul Cockrell, and he was actually a friend of my brother's. So it was like, this guy? Like I can't believe this, And
Street magician.
he was doing street magic, yeah. He was doing coins across, actually. That was
Okay.
the trick that was like,
Yeah.
and then
And which is what? Explain a little bit. Of
coins across is when you have like a stack of coins in one hand, like 4 or 5 coins in one hand, and nothing in your other, in your other hand. So it's like, left hand has 4 coins, right hand has no coins. You close your hands one at a time. The coins jump across from one hand to the other. There
Right.
doesn't seem to be any logical explanation besides stepping through some kind of time space continuum thing or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
it's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really really baffling. Especially to a 12-year-old kid. I couldn't believe it. And then he'd done floating rows for a waitress. This guy was legit,
Really?
Yeah, floating rows for a waitress, and I was like, I want to be like this guy, Which
So what-
floating rose is like, he has a napkin, it floats, and then it bursts into flames, produces a rose, gives it to a waitress. It's like,
Was this just like at a diner or something?
yeah, we
And-
were at a restaurant after
Oh
that.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
so after that, we went
Can't
to a
imagine.
restaurant.
Oh.
I'm hanging out with my brother, and he does floating rows, and it's just like,
Oh my gosh.
the coolest
Either
stuff
you're
ever.
the person who's like, oh come on.
Yeah.
Or you're like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like
You're never
Shay-
gonna see that again in your life.
Yeah, and
That's
then
incredible.
later that night, so then we're hanging out. We got to I got to see him on the street do coins across. Oh my gosh, we had dinner with him. I saw him do floating rows. Oh my gosh, and then later that night, I watched him do a piece. The coins are in 4 corners, and they're jumping across, and I still do that to this day. And that's really what kind of started the journey, because I was so blown away by that whole experience that I was like, I have to figure it out. I've fallen through the rabbit hole. Like, it sparked my imagination to the point where I couldn't imagine anything cooler than magic.